Idag på FN-dagen är en av huvudtalarna på fredskonferensen i Örebro, Dr. Denis Mukwege. Han är gynekolog och kirurg och bilderna är från hans sjukhus i Demokratiska Republiken Kongo. Där har han och hans personal räddat över 40 000 kvinnor som har utsatts för grymheter som är ohyggliga. De har använts i krigföringen och utsatts för sexualiserat våld. Han är också en mycket god vän med nuvarande utrikesminister Margot Wallström. Och så här såg det ut för en stund sedan när de möttes i vår studio. Margot Wallström har varit FNs generalsekreterares särskilda representant i frågor som rör sexualiserat våld. Och hon har också varit på det sjukhus där Dr. Mukwege arbetar. Och jag kan också nämna att han har blivit nominerad till Nobels fredspris och i tisdags så fick han EU-parlamentets Sacharovpris för sitt arbete för mänskliga rättigheter. It's nice to have both of you here. First of all, welcome Mr. Denis Mukwege. You have been honored many times this week. You got a prize again, but you told me when we were sitting talking before that this is not the important thing. It's to see the light in a woman's eyes when you see that she has been helped. Is that so?
It's really a big prize when you treat a woman and after she got healing to see how she's happy. It's like to born again, and this is a big prize.
The two of you, you are friends and colleagues. Margot Wallström, tell us about your relationship.
By now, it's starting to be a long story. Rather when I started on my UN mission, of course we traveled to Eastern Congo, and this is how we got in touch. But I had heard about Dr. Mukwege's work long before that, and not only is he a very skillful professional, medical professional, a doctor, but he's also a fighter and a political fighter, and he is also a really good human being. I think, you know, in a lifetime you meet few people that of whom you can say that he's a really good human being, and that is how I see Denis, my friend Denis.
What you write in the book.
Yes.
That this is not only a doctor, it's a person with a big heart, a good human being. The figures are incredible. You have helped 40,000 victims, women, after sexual violence in your country and in your hospital. It's a figure you can't even understand. But I asked you before when we were waiting for Margot Wallström to come, do you remember the first time, the first woman that came to you?
Yes, I think that most of the time I don't want to talk about number, because behind each woman we have to think about how she's suffering, how the community, his family, the children who are suffering by what happened to her. So I think that this is most important to think about it. And I still remember the women I treat for the first time. When I opened this hospital in 1999, the idea was to help women giving birth. And for me, it was the aim was to fight against maternal mortality. But the first patient we treated in the hospital was a woman who were raped just a few meters of the hospital. And after to be raped, they shoot on her genital. And this was horrible for me. It was the first time for me to see this kind of barbaric act. I still remember her very well because it was a shock for myself and for all my staff.
and you healed her by surgery. But you also told me before that that is one thing, to heal the wounds, and then it's also the mind, the psychological healing that is so difficult for these women to continue their lives. Because of most of the time they're very ashamed what happened.
You know, to be raped in public, to be raped in front of the children, your children, the husband, or the community, I think that the goal is to produce a shame and to destroy women not only physically, but to destroy also them mentally. And when you treat them physically and don't take care of their mentally parts, you just do your job half. You don't treat really them because they will not able to take care of themselves. And that is the reason at the beginning it was only medical treatment, but after a few months we understand that we need really to get the second pillar of what you are doing with the psychological care.
Both of you work with this, but maybe it's important to explain. This is a way of get people frightened and try to statue an example. Margot Wallström, tell us about this, because you were the representative of the UN.
Unfortunately, this has been part of the problem since beginning of history, you know, that the shame or the blame falls on the victim, not on the perpetrator. And secondly, that this has also been followed by impunity and excuses. And this is very important to change. If you come and visit Dr. Mukwege's hospital, Panzi Hospital, you will also see that he treats also the social needs and economic needs by offering many of these women and children an opportunity to learn handicraft or do other things in the community. So it will also give them a strength and a feeling of not being ashamed, but having been given something more in addition to the medical treatment.
Because most of them can't return to their villages because they feel the
very
shame.
often stigmatized or marginalized in their communities, and it's very important to do both things, and this is what you can see. And of course there is you know, my mission, UN mission, was a political one, to try to slowly start to change things in fighting impunity, making sure that there is a political ownership of these issues, that it is seen not as a women's issue, but a matter of peace and security, and to move it up on the Security Council's agenda. There are many disappointments, because still the fight is very uneven, and we see now with ISIL's attacks, you know, in Syria and Iraq, that this is still used as a tactic or a weapon of war, and the barbaric acts are still there. So we have to keep that work up, but I think at least now it is reported in a proper way. There is an attempt, and there is also yearly reporting to the Security Council. So we just have to continue.
But you are now a dangerous person for these people, because you became a symbol of women's rights, and I know that you have also been threatened yourself and your family. Does this stop you in any way, that you have been afraid?
We can't give up, because to give up is just to give them more strength and go on destroying life. And if we can think for the future of the next generations, I think that it's very important that, like Margot can just to say, we need to fight this way of terrorism. I think that it's only to try to get people under control in terrorism, and this is not acceptable. We have really to be aware and know that it's a threat for not only women, but it's a threat for our civilization, it's a threat for our humanity.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your daily life? Are there any other women that you can tell us about what they have gone through and what happened afterwards when they've been at your hospital?
You know, I think that one of the most reasons for me to stay in Congo is the strength of women, because I've seen women coming to the hospital in the conditions that I can't describe myself. Sometimes you have just to cry because you can't understand how things like that can happen. And I still remember one woman who came to the hospital, and this lady, she was from Mwenga in South Kivu, and she was attacked in her house. The husband was killed, and 3 of the 4 children were also killed. And she came to my hospital with mutilations, and she was contaminated by AIDS. And for me, I just got impression that she is at her end of life. But after to be treated in the hospital, and we gave her just a small amount to start a life. And just 3 months ago, she came to me and smiling and very happy with the girl who survived what happened to her. And she showed me and said, you know, my daughter is now going to school, and you see how beautiful she is. And myself, even if I have AIDS, but I'm healthy, and now I come just to buy a land, and she showed me a photo of the house. And she was very happy with her new life, and said, even if all these things happen now, I'm just working to give a future for my daughter. And this is wonderful. Yes.
I know, Margot Wallström, that you went there and you met a lot of women. They told their stories, and you were really moved to tears, because sometimes you can read about it, but when you meet them, it's so different.
Especially the older women who have been living a very tough life, and you can see the hardship in their faces and in their bodies and their hands. And they have to be humiliated as one of the things that happened to them late in life, and by young men who could have been, you know, their grandchildren, and they can't understand why this is being done to them. And I found that unbearable. It was absolutely impossible not to cry with them at some point. But I was not there to cry. I was there because I represented the international community. I had a responsibility to say, the one thing I can promise you is to bring your voices to the United Nations. And I did. I actually quoted them exactly what they had said in different meetings. And I told the Security Council in my reports exactly what they said. I must say also an illustration of exactly what Denis says now is, I met with a young girl, I think 16 or 17 years old, in a salle d'écoute, which is like a place where they can tell their stories, where they can get judicial help or other help from the international community, from lawyers, for example. She came with her father, and she was all the time, you know, sitting like this on her hands, and with her body language and everything showing that she had been through something awful, and she wouldn't look at us even, she wouldn't look into our eyes. And then it was only when we told her, you know, it's not your fault. You are not to blame for anything. It's the people who did this to you that are responsible and must be held to account. And only then did she tell her story. And her father said that she was the brightest girl in school, and that all his hopes had also been connected to this girl. And that shows that if you do this to so many women in the DRC, in Congo, they will lose their own future. This is their future. And when this is on a massive scale down to so many women, they undermine their own future. And this is what worries me. And I've said they have to also write a new story for Congo. They have to create a new story about Congo.
And you are really part of that new story. I'm so glad that you came here and told your story, and keep up really with your good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.